Hey, if you're wondering why I'm sitting the way I'm sitting, you'll understand very soon because I'm gonna share something powerful with you today. If you have a business, I'm sure that you face all sorts of bad things like fears, imposter syndrome, lack of confidence, self-doubt, and things like that. And those things get in your way very often. It used to be the case for me, and it still is. And I still face even fear of doing a live video, believe it or not. So today I'm gonna give you a method how to overcome that fear. And if we haven't met, my name is Edita. I'm from VIE now. I am a former struggling network marketer. I was struggling because I hated prospecting. I absolutely hated approaching people with my stuff, especially strangers and actually family members too. I didn't want to really bug them, and it felt very, very uncomfortable. So I was struggling, but then I found a way to get my ideal prospects to come to me instead, and it changed so much for me, for my business, for how I feel about everything. Feel much better now. And so today, actually, dealing with lots of things like in our heads, mindset wise, is a big part of having a business. Being an entrepreneur, being a home-based business owner, or any owner of a business in general, puts us in the situation when we have to face things that we would rather avoid so often, even I could say every single day. And it depends on the type of your business, but for me, sometimes I go through so many ups and downs every single day. I have to make certain decisions that I'm reluctant to make, and so on and so forth. And with network marketing, we have fear of prospecting, we have fear of talking to people, we have imposter syndrome. Happens very often. It's actually so common, and it gets in the way. It makes our life much more difficult, and sometimes we avoid making decisions, and we avoid taking action that we should, because of those fears, because those fears are irrational, and the logic is very difficult to use to overcome that kind of stuff. So I was actually watching some videos. I was doing some research as usual the other day, last week I think, and I was watching some videos, and I came across some interesting stuff. And one of the videos was actually a TED Talk, I think from the person called Amy Cuddy. She talked about how to overcome imposter syndrome and any fear with body language. Very interesting. So apparently, when we feel happy, when we feel confident, when we feel loved or in love, or things like that, our body releases certain types of hormones like endorphins, dopamine, oxytocin, and so on. Happiness hormones. And those kind of hormones help us see everything in much more positive, in a much more positive way, and feel generally more confident and happy, and make certain decisions. Very difficult to make decisions or to overcome certain roadblocks when we feel low, when we feel stressed, when we doubt ourselves. So I remember when I had to do my first live video here on Facebook, on this business page 2+ years ago. It was so difficult. I was so afraid, but obviously I had a lot of drive in me, and I knew what I wanted to achieve. I did it. I was terrified, but I did it. But it was very, very difficult, and it was very, very difficult for a very long time. And for a year or so, and even now I'm not that confident, you know. Now it's more about delivering the content well and making my points well and so on. But there are so many other fears, you know, still, and they will always be there. I know that. So here's what's interesting. So when we feel happy, these hormones get released, and they help us feel elevated, they help us be more positive about everything and so on. But what's interesting is that it actually works the other way. We can trigger, and so many people, because they feel afraid to do a live video, even though they know they should do it for their business, they won't. They are so afraid. It's such a common fear. But what's interesting is that it works the other way too. We can trigger the release of these happiness hormones like oxytocin, endorphins, and dopamine. We can trigger that. Oh, and one point is that when we feel confident, our body language is, you know, big. We look bigger, we look wider, we look, you know, there is a reason why when we win something, when people win something, let's say a match, they put their hands up, you know, or we applaud or something like that. We express ourselves in a wide, broad way, kind of very interesting. We feel confident. Those hormones make us feel more confident, and so we want to sort of expose ourselves, show off, and so on, and we act like that. We are open to the world. Now, so here's the point. It works the other way around too. So you can actually trigger the release of those hormones by faking that winning situation. You know, so if you are feeling low, or let's say if you need to do something that scares you, go meet with somebody, with a prospect, or go do a live video, or post some content that you don't know how people are gonna react to, you know, you can actually use body language to trigger the production of those hormones. So, for example, you can do that pose, you know, or something like that. You know, put your feet up on you know, like bosses sit. You know, somebody confident sits. Some leaders or whatever. You know, they put their feet up on the desk. You know. Sit down, hands like that, and stay there. And the recommendation is to keep that kind of pose for a couple of minutes, and that triggers the release of these hormones that make you more confident. And then you go and do your live video, and then you go and make that call, and then you go to your meeting, you know, with your prospect or your colleague or your boss or whatever your situation is. So basically it works both ways. You know, those hormones are released when we experience some sort of happiness, winning, and so on. And also the other way around, we can trigger those hormones by acting wide and big and happy. And this is where we say, you know, fake it till you make it, because it does work. It's not about the results, it's about how we feel. We can fake how we feel, and we will start feeling that way. You know, so I know that people do affirmations and stuff like that, you know, look at themselves in the mirror and say, you know, I'm great, I'm beautiful, I'm whatever other things, and so on. But also we can actually use body language. It's very effective. I've tried it, and sometimes now it's enough for me to just think about it. You know, okay, I'm scared about this situation that I need to face in 10 minutes, and I register that feeling, and then I think about myself, actually, you know what? I'm not scared. Let me not be scared. And I picture myself sitting like that, or you know, doing that. And it already makes me feel much better about everything. And I just go and do what needs to be done. So it works both ways. So try this exercise. Before you go do something that scares you, act wide. Act like a boss. Just act like a boss, like a leader. And what's going to happen if when you practice that thing, you know, say doing a live video or whatever it is, in your case, you'll get better. And then you will naturally become more confident about that specific action, that specific thing. And then you won't need those kind of things, you know, that body language, that exercise at some point anymore. Obviously, there will be other things. There is always something we are afraid of. It's normal. And, you know, when you see people, you think that somebody is braver than you, and they look good on the screen and they do all these things and whatever. Oh, well, in many cases, they not. Or they were before, they were afraid before, but they overcame it, they worked for themselves. But nobody is born to feel well about a lot of exposure or many other things. You know, we all have our own, obviously, our own specific fears, but we all have something. So anyway, do this exercise. Act wide before. When you are afraid of something, just act big. Be a boss. Act like a boss. And it's gonna help you to overcome those fears. So I hope this was useful. I want you to try this, and thanks very much for watching. I hope you're having a great day and a great week. It's midweek now, and I'll talk to you soon again. Bye now.